Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Report: Warriors trade target Lauri Markkanen hopes to stay with Jazz. It's no secret that the Golden State Warriors have been trying to add another star to their roster this offseason. For the past few weeks, rumors have swirled around Utah Jazz forward Lauri Markkanen. Jazz top exec Danny Ainge has been known to architect many a rebuild, and Markkanen is eligible for a sizable extension next week. Markkanen is a dynamic shooter whose scoring prowess would be a significant upgrade for the Warriors. However, according to Tony Jones of The Athletic, Markkanen seems content remaining in Utah. Lauri has really taken to Utah, Jones said during a radio appearance on ESPN 700 in Salt Lake City. His family has taken to Utah. Obviously the Jazz can trade him between now and August 6th, and Lauri knows that, but Lauri has forged a really close relationship with Will Hardy. And Will Hardy has really found a way to unlock his career in a manner that hasn't been accomplished before. Lauri really recognizes that, understands that, and appreciates that. He wants to be a part of the rebuild. Markkanen has always a dynamic stretch big, but he began reaching another level once he was acquired by the Jazz 2 off-seasons ago. Markkanen won the Most Improved Player award in the 2022-23 season, averaging 25.6 points and 8.6 rebounds per game alongside receiving the first All-Star selection of his career. He averaged 23.2 points and 8.2 rebounds per game this past year, maintaining his highly efficient shooting numbers. With two talented draft classes on the horizon, however, there has been growing speculation that the Jazz would consider parting with Markkanen this offseason in an effort to fully tank. That could still be Ainge's ultimate goal, but given Utah's struggles to attract prominent players in free agency, it seems unlikely that they would move on from such a talented player. I would expect him to sign on August 7th, or after August 6th, Jones added. Lauri doesn't want to be traded, so if he signs the renegotiation and extension, which I expect him to do, I expect him to do it after August 6th, so there's no trade talk this year. If Markkanen does sign an extension in Utah, effectively taking him off the trade market, then the Warriors will be back at square one in their search for a scorer to replace Klay Thompson. Chicago Bulls wing Zach LaVine remains available and could be a buy-low fallback option for the Dubs, but that would require taking on a massive contract for a player with a long injury history. Outside of that, the current options are few and far between. Warriors Draymond Green sends NSFW podcast warning to young stars. Draymond Green is the self-proclaimed champion of the new media, which refers to athletes who take control of their narratives through both social media and podcasting. However, the Golden State Warriors forward only thinks certain players are qualified for the exclusive club. Green said younger athletes aren't established enough yet to be interesting podcast hosts, via Jeff Teague's Club 520 podcast. For some of these guys, they be in year 3, still trying to figure it out, with a podcast, Green said. I love that you're doing it, I love that you found something that you want to do, but you in year 3 and ain't done s*******. Nobody really want to hear from you. Green thinks that players should walk before they run. Lasting as a professional hooper is already hard enough, and it becomes nearly impossible when simultaneously trying to rise in the podcast space. When I see guys doing it now, I have two thoughts, Green explained. I like that you're doing that, I think that's super dope that you're doing that. But B, make sure that you're in the space to do it first. I see some guys starting now, and if you start now because you're trying to make that your main job, great. Go for it. But you're not in a space right now to do that and try to make it in basketball because you ain't made it in that yet. Is Green right, or should he give the young guys a chance? Green added that he wants everyone to express themselves, but his sentiments come out of a place of concern. I'd be excited as hell to see everybody doing their thing. I think it's dope, Green said. But at the same time, I get a little worried that people be trying to do too much too soon. Green, who's considered a pioneer in the active athlete/podcaster world, may have never started his show if he didn't first establish himself as a future NBA Hall of Famer with the Warriors. The content world is all about standing out from the crowd, and the former Defensive Player of the Year's resume sets him apart. However, do all hoopers need to attain that level of excellence before starting their podcasts? If so, the new media may be a tiny club of elites. One writer covering the subject is confused with Green's standards via awful announcing sprint and clean. For a guy who invented the phrase new media built around the idea of athletes taking the microphone away from old media, Green's comments here set a strange boundary on who qualifies to do so, Clean wrote. Green may have a point in regards to focusing on one thing at a time, but where is the line drawn between being qualified and unqualified? Grade the trade, Warriors send young star East in latest three-team Markkanen proposal. The Golden State Warriors' hopes of landing Lauri Markkanen appear to be fading, with the likelihood that the 7-foot forward remains with the Utah Jazz according to ESPN's Zach Lowe. Further than that, Lowe's colleague Brian Windhorst has recently stated that if that deal was going to happen, it would have happened, while another ESPN reporter, Ramona Shelburne, believes a Markkanen trade to the Warriors is a 20% chance of happening. On Monday, the Jazz posted a photo on their Instagram story of young guard Keontae George and Markkanen training together in Finland, with the latter reposting it on his own account. That could mean nothing. It could also mean the pair are certainly expecting to be teammates again next season. While the hopes may be fading to a degree, they should remain alive until the point Markkanen signs a contract extension which would rule him out of being traded for the foreseeable future. Golden State could orchestrate a trade if they're willing to give up young guard Brandon Podziemski, though there's been no indication that they're interested in doing that at this stage. In fact, it's gone the other way where Warrior owner Joe Lacob has reiterated that they don't want to give up the 21-year-old while also labeling him a future All-Star at Summer League earlier this month. It's highly unlikely that the franchise can obtain Markkanen without giving up Podziemski, and even more improbable that they can do so without relinquishing one of he or Jonathan Kuminga. The issue with the latter is that he's extension eligible, and Utah have little interest trading for Kuminga when they'd likely have to turn around and pay the talented forward in excess of $150 million to keep him around long-term. This is why three-team trade proposals have emerged that see Kuminga go to a third team. Eric Pincus suggested a deal last week that saw the Sacramento Kings as that team, but for the financial and on-court reasons outlined here, there's other teams who could be more motivated to take on Kuminga and give up draft capital in the process. So, who could that alternative third team be? Let's lay out another trade proposal the Warriors could explore to try and pry Markkanen away from the Jazz. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Lauri Markkanen? Leave your opinion in the comments.